Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Charlie Paris Concordia Azur. This watch is available from charlieparis.com for €354. Charlie Paris are a well-established micro-brand. They were founded in 2014 in France, and they retail their watches in their Paris boutique and also online on their website charlieparis.com. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the specifications of the piece. So the watch comes in a blue cardboard watch box, which is protected by a blue cardboard sleeve. As you can see on the top of the sleeve, we have the Charlie Paris text logo. On the front, it says Maison d'Horlogerie depuis 2014, which confirms that they've been making watches in France since 2014. So one removes the sleeve. On the top of the hinge lid, we can see the Charlie Paris C emblem and Charlie Paris text logo. So spring-loaded hinge lid, and the underside of the watch box, as you can see, the lid is upholstered with blue vinyl to a good standard. The base is also fully upholstered with blue vinyl, and there's a cutout, and inside the cutout there's a snug fit padded pillow cushion, and it's upholstered to a good standard with blue vinyl. So good presentation, and I think this watch box is good quality and acceptable, bearing in mind it's a low tier price point piece at €354. With regards to the items that come with the piece, one also gets this drawstring fabric bag, which has the Charlie Paris emblem C embroidered to a good standard, and this contains the accessories, which I'll show you. So, as an alternative to the oyster style bracelet that comes fitted to the head of the piece, one also gets this sailcloth weave azure blue strap. So, two keepers, the first one's fixed, second one slides. And as you can see, correct choice made because we've got quick release stainless steel spring bars. This could be further enhanced if they lined the underside of it with leather, but the sailcloth weave fabric, which is nylon, is soft and supple, doesn't feel rough, feels smooth, flawless stitching around the edges, and the buckle is correctly proportioned and also brush satin finished. We've also got large mirror polished bevels which mark the transition between the top edge and the flanks, and I like the gauge of it. The quality of the finishing is good, high definition engraving with Charlie. I think they could have also, as an alternative to Charlie, they could have engraved the C emblem. I think that would have looked more aesthetically pleasing, but this is subjective. Some collectors might like the Charlie text logo. So good quality buckle and tang. Keepers are correctly proportioned, stitching is good, quality of the fabric weave is good. So it's a sailcloth weave both on the top side and the underside. Plenty of holes, so this will fit from a minimum 6-inch wrist size up to a maximum 7.5-inch wrist size. I like the use of quick release stainless steel spring bars because that negates the need for a spring bar tool if you want to exchange the oyster style bracelet fitted to the piece for this azure blue sailcloth weave fabric strap. So with regards to the other items, one also gets this leaflet which you open, and inside there's a QR code. So you scan the QR code with your Android or iPhone, and that will give you advice, a tutorial on how to resize the oyster style bracelet fitted to the head of the piece. So good to get that included if you're unfamiliar with bracelet resizing. One also gets this Charlie Paris emblem branded thank you card, and it's a message from the team at Charlie Paris thanking you for your purchase and becoming a customer and a member of the Charlie Paris team. One also gets this owner's instruction manual, which is specifically for the Concordia Azur, and clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and also translated into French, so it's bilingual, and it details the operation of the movement used, which is the Seiko Caliber VH31B quartz. And lastly, one also gets this warranty card, and as you can see on the reverse, it details that this watch is covered by a 2-year international warranty. I want to give due credit to Charlie Paris here because often low-tier microbrand pieces are only covered with a 12-month international warranty. To get 2 years of international warranty is very good at this price point, €354, and they deserve full credit for that. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, we have a 38mm case diameter, we have a lug-to-lug measurement of 45.5mm, a thickness of 11.2mm, and a lug width of 20mm. The oyster style bracelet tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to 16mm at the flip lock clasp. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I regard 20 to 16 as the perfect taper, and this is perfection personified. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it's the industry standard for good reason. For a 38mm head of the piece, 20 to 16 is the perfect taper, so they deserve credit for the correct decision. They've also made the correct decision by using female pivoted end links versus male end links, because with a compact 45.5 lug to lug, this makes it particularly suitable for collectors with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches. Flip lock clasp is well executed. It's pressed stainless steel and it's signed on the flip lock with a Charlie C emblem, and we also have Charlie text logo with D 2014, which denotes depuis 2014, which means made since 2014. It's a light gauge to the 316L grade stainless steel, and this is the one production cost cutting measure, which is a disappointment. I'd like to see Charlie Paris upgrade this to a solid milled 316L grade stainless steel clasp body, because it is a very light gauge. These kind of pressed metal clasps were acceptable up until the early 2000s, but now in 2025 the industry standard, even for low tier micro brands, is a solid milled body and a micro adjustment clasp. It does have 4 micro adjustment holes in the flanks, and it's easy to resize because you simply can depress a spring bar tool through the flanks, and so it's easy to adjust. They could further enhance the fit of this bracelet by adding a half link either side on the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side, in addition to the full links, because we've only got a half link joining the oyster bracelet to the rest of the bracelet either side on the 6 and the 12, but they could add an additional 2 half links, one on the 6, one on the 12 side, because sometimes adding or subtracting one full link from an oyster style bracelet doesn't give the desired fit. It's either slightly too tight or too loose, but of course we do have one full link of adjustment with the 4 holes in the flanks in terms of micro adjustment. Flip lock is correctly proportioned, and I like the scallop beneath it because you can then engage your thumbnail or index fingernail beneath the flip lock to prise it up. So it's good attention to detail that they've got this scallop or this recess, which makes it easier to prise the flip lock up. So the interior is solid milled 316L grade stainless steel, beautiful luster to the brushed satin finishing to the top side, underside and flanks. So it is well finished, no sharp edges, no burrs, doesn't have sharp corners, and it snaps shut with a nice positive click, and the flip lock snaps shut with a nice positive click. So I'd like to see them upgrade it, but it is acceptable. We have a single domed sapphire crystal with clear AR coating on the underside. Now this does come as a surprise to me because the industry standard now in the low tier and mid tier is double domed sapphire crystals. It's actually unusual to see a single domed crystal used at this price point. Now the negative of the single dome versus double dome is because it's flat on the underside and curved on the top side, it does have a magnification effect. When I tilt the piece at an oblique angle, the AR coating does an excellent job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver mirror polished applied indices and silver mirror polished handset. But however, when I tilt it at an oblique angle, you can see the distortion effect, and that's not caused by the thickness of the sapphire crystal. The distortion is caused by it being flat on the underside. It's single domed. So to clarify, single domed is flat on the underside, curved on the top side. Double domed is curved on the top side, curved on the underside. The benefit of the benefit of double domed sapphire crystal is that they reduce the magnification effect and the distortion when you tilt the piece at an oblique angle. The magnification effect, subjectively, one could argue that it does improve legibility and clarity because it does slightly magnify the dial and the indices and also the handset, so the legibility when you view it straight on like a magnifying glass, it does enhance it, rather like a Cyclops magnifier. But the negative is, subjectively, when you tilt it at an oblique angle, you get this distortion. You can see the thickness of the crystal. It distorts and magnifies. I think they've missed an opportunity here. They should have used the double dome sapphire crystal and made it thinner. But of course, one has to appreciate this does have very strong specification. It is necessary for it to have a very thick sapphire crystal because this is 300 meters. For a daily wear piece, I think it's excessive. They could have made this 100 meters or 200 meters with a screw down crown, solid stainless steel case back and a 2mm thick double dome sapphire crystal. 100 or 200 meters would have been strong specification for a daily wear piece. 300 is excessive. That is suitable for a dive piece. It really isn't necessary for this piece, which is clearly a daily wear piece, not a dive piece. But that's the reason we have a very thick single dome sapphire crystal which provides an effective hermetic seal to 300 meters. It can easily withstand 300 meters of pressure. So bezel is solid 316L grade stainless steel, flat profile to it rather than being domed, and it's correctly proportioned. The single dome sapphire crystal projects above it, so it has a bevel on the edge which catches the light, does look aesthetically pleasing. The mirror polishing is absolutely flawless. There's also a chamfer on the edge which deletes the sharp edge of the flat profile bezel. The case is solid 316L grade stainless steel, brushed satin finish to the tops of the case, nice large bevels which run the full length of the flanks, and that marks the transition between the top of the brushed satin finished case and the mirror polished flanks. I like the large bevels, it gives the piece a vintage aesthetic but also deletes the sharp edges of the transition, so it's very well finished. Nice curved undercuts to the flanks and no sharp edge to the undercuts, which is good. The tips of the lugs have been deburred and chamfered very well, so on the left hand flank and the right hand flank there are no sharp undercuts. undercuts. This feels very comfortable to wear, and it does have a very good curved profile to it and a compact 45.5 lug to lug. So as I've detailed, particularly suitable for collectors with a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist. Female puta links are the correct choice, so let's check the execution. They articulate smoothly. They don't feel stiff or kink, which is good. But however, the negative is they are sloppy. Lateral, longitudinal, side to side, up and down play. So they click. And this is simply due to poor tolerances. The hole is drilled too large in diameter through the centre link of the bracelet, and the spring bar tool going through the hole is undersized in diameter. And therefore we don't have an interference friction fit. It's sloppy, as you can see. Very easy to correct for Charlie Paris. They simply need to reduce the diameter of the hole drilled through the centre link and increase the diameter of the spring bar going through it, and then it would become an interference friction fit on the female puta link that would reduce the play, because it does have play in every direction. Let's check the other side for continuity. Again, doesn't feel stiff or kink. That's the benefit, articulates well. However, the negative is poor tolerance, because you can see the play. Side to side play, lateral play, up and down play, play in every direction. So it's sloppy and it rattles. Very easy to correct, and at this price point, €354, one cannot be magnanimous about it in the low tier. One has to be realistic and expect some production cost cutting measures in order to make this viable to retail at €354, because it is assembled in France, it's not made in China, and therefore the production costs are much higher, but one needs to see tighter tolerances regardless of that. In terms of finishing, beautiful lustre to the longitudinal brush satin finishing to the top side and underside of the oyster style bracelet. Perfection personified taper, visually looks good. Nice fine grained brush satin finishing, doesn't look rough or coarse, and I like the lustre to it, beautiful. Mirror polishing to the flanks is correct. Now, I think they've made an error here, because 20 to 16 is the perfection personified taper, but look at the thickness of the links. They are very thick. This oyster style bracelet does not need to have links which are so thick. This does add significant heft to the piece. Now it is only 139 grams, which is good for 38mm on a solid oyster style bracelet, but the links I think are too thick. They do slim down in thickness, so they are thicker at the spring bar end or the head of the piece, and then they taper down in thickness down to the flip lock clasp. So that's good. There is a reduction in the meat of the links, but not enough. The links at the head of the piece are far too thick. This oyster style bracelet, the taper is correct, but the thickness isn't. It's far too thick at the female puta link end, so they need to thin down the links, and that would enhance the comfort level and the feel good factor. In terms of finishing, the bracelet is finished very well. No sharp edge to the top edge or the low edge of the flank, so it doesn't scratch the wrist, doesn't feel sharp, it feels comfortable, doesn't pull arm hairs, but however, the negative is it's sloppy, it rattles. So I'm pleased to see they made the correct decision of using 1.2mm screw pins versus push pins, which is good. Push pins would have been a production cost cutting measure in order to maximise profit margin per piece. It would have been acceptable at this price point to use pin and collars, but they haven't. They've used 1.2mm screw pins, which is good. But we don't have the benefit of screw pins. Screw pins really should tighten up the tolerances better than push pins, but you can see it rattles. Every single one of the screw pin links in the oyster style bracelet has too much play. Longitudinal, lateral, side to side, up and down play. Let's check the other side for continuity. The benefit is it articulates freely. It doesn't feel stiff or kink, so it's good. It wraps around the wrist well, doesn't feel stiff, it flows freely, so it's comfortable. No sharp edges, doesn't pull arm hairs, finished to perfection, but rattles. And we're looking at significant play. Now, one could be magnanimous about this kind of sloppy bracelet. If this were in the low tier below €100 price point, one has to be realistic and expect some cost-cutting measures. But €354, this needs to have a tight oyster-style bracelet with screw pins. Again, poor quality tolerances. They simply need to reduce the diameter of the holes drilled in the links and increase the diameter of the 1.2mm screw pins to tighten up the tolerances to make them a friction interference fit, because as it stands, there's too much play. Cumulative effect of every single one of the links having too much play is across the length of the bracelet we then get this play, and it rattles, it's sloppy, disappointing. They also need to upgrade the clasp, so we'll look at the clasp in detail. Pressed 316L grade stainless steel, beautiful lustre to it, longitudinally to the body, flip lock is correctly proportioned. I like the scallop beneath it as I've detailed, but it's very light gauge. They need to make this heavier. and this would better balance the bracelet to the head of the piece, because as it stands the clasp is too light, and it really does feel too light because you can see the thickness. There's too much meat on the bracelet links, so it's a very heavy oyster style bracelet with a very light gauge pressed 316L grade stainless steel flip lock clasp. The clasp feels too light for a heavy bracelet. They need to add some meat to it, so this needs to be solid milled body, and that would make it better balanced with the head of the piece. But in terms of finishing, it's good. Beautiful lustre to the brush satin finishing, no sharp edges, no burrs. Let's check the hinge pins. Left hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, but excess play. Lateral, side to side, up and down, longitudinal play. Poor tolerances. Very easy to tighten up because it's a pin with rivets on the end, riveted ends rather, and they could simply tighten up the tolerances by making the hole diameter smaller and the pin larger diameter, because as it stands, it's sloppy, it rattles. Let's check the centre hinge pin, which again is a pin which is riveted on the ends. Articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink, but too much play. It's sloppy. Lateral, side to side, up and down, longitudinal play. So it doesn't feel stiff or kink, that's the benefit, but it's sloppy. Right hand hinge pin articulates freely, doesn't feel stiff or kink. It's a spring bar, but again, too much play. If this were below €100, one could be magnanimous about play in the left hand, centre and right hand hinge pins, but it's not. It's €354. The other glaring error, which is embarrassing, is they've engraved Acer inoxidable, which is stainless steel in French, upside down. And I say it's upside down for this reason. I'll just clarify it to you, because when I level criticism at a brand, I like to be consistent. I like to be fair rather than unfair and unbiased. So collectors, normally, the majority of collectors wear their piece on the left wrist, like this. Then they take it off the wrist and turn it round this way and they open the flip lock like so, from right to left. So this is the way up they're looking at the solid milled internals. Now you can see Acer inoxidable in French is upside down. They need to engrave it the other way up. So they simply need to invert the engraving, because the majority of collectors do not wear the watch the other way round and take it off like this and open the flip lock clasp from right to left. It would then be the correct way up. As you can see, Acer inoxidable is now the correct way up, but it's inverted, and this is embarrassing. And again, one could be magnanimous about this. If this were a Chinese piece and it were low tier below €100, one could say this is okay, but it's not. This is made in France, and they have been making watches in France since 2014. It's a well-established micro brand. At this stage in 2025, they should not be making these kind of glaring errors. Acer inoxidable should be engraved inverted, the other way up. So I'd like to see that done. Right, so let's look at the case back. So the case back is engraved with the Nazare emblem, as you can see, which is rather like a star or compass, mirror polished, and it's got a matte bead blasted effect to the Nazare engraved case back. The engraving is high definition, and it's been mirror polished to a very good standard, so it's not sharp or rough, doesn't feel rough against the wrist, therefore it feels comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. The benefit of this being Seiko VH31B powered, which is quartz, is it has a very flat case back rather than a deep bubble back case back, as per if this were powered by an NH38, for example, because it would need additional clearance around the rotor beneath the case back and the rotor. So this is the benefit of using a quartz movement such as the VH31B. It's thinner, and therefore the case back doesn't need clearance around a rotor, and you can see just how flat it is in the centre section. This piece is only 11.2, which is excellent because it is 300 metres, which is very strong specification. As it's 300 versus 100 or 200 metres with a screw down case back, the case back needs to be thicker in order to withstand 300 metres of pressure. I think again they've missed an opportunity here, or one could say subjectively it's an error, because this does not need 300 metres. It's not a dive piece. They could have made it 100 metres or 200 metres of hermetic seal and reduced the thickness of the case back by 1mm. It would still withstand 200 metres of pressure with 1mm reduction on the meat, and that would actually slim this piece down from 11.2 to 10.2, which of course would enhance the comfort level and the feel good factor. It would fit better on the wrist and of course be thinner. It would also reduce the heft of the piece further from the 139 grams to circa 125 or 130 grams. But the holes drilled in it around the circumference are deburred and chamfered very well, so no sharp edges. The outer portion is concentric CNC lathe tool machined to a good standard. So the engraving is high definition, and it's very good. It's been deburred very well. No sharp edges to the case back whatsoever. The mirror polishing, the engraving of the Nazare star or compass is excellent. Quick release stainless steel spring bars in the end links are the correct choice. That negates the need for a spring bar tool if you want to remove the oyster style bracelet and fit the sailcloth weave Azur blue strap, which is good. And the quick release spring bars work very well. So the head of the piece is finished very well. The mirror polishing is excellent. Flanks are absolutely flawless. Nice large mirror polish bevels which mark the transition. They're also finished to a flawless standard. Right, so let's look at the screw down crown in detail. Nailed screw down crown, and it's got a groove in it, and the groove also has blue anodizing which complements the Azur blue dial, which is graduated. Nailed crown versus a gear tooth crown or alternatively coin edge finished crown, correctly proportioned. It's got a conical profile to it. It's large enough to be grippy and tactile, so you can get good purchase with your index finger and thumb. Screw down crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 300 meters, which is strong specification, and we've got a compass engraved in it, and it's done to a very good standard. So let's test it. Silky smooth. This is sublime screw down crown execution. Minimal number of turns required to unscrew it. It feels very well made. So the internal thread perfectly meshes against the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube, so it's silky smooth. 300 really I regard as excessive specification. 100 or 200 would be sufficient, but 300 is good. And pulling it out, so the first click position is the final click position. It hacks the movements because the VH31B does not have a date complication. So the benefit of that is, unlike the NH35A for example, there is no phantom date setting position. So if you look at the second hand, you can see it's now stopped dead, and therefore one can set the time precisely to the second. There are two versions of the VH31. So to clarify, the VH31A has been in service since 2019, so it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. It has the same architecture as the VH31B, which is used in this piece. So the VH31A was produced by Seiko from 2019. Then it was succeeded by the VH31B in 2023. The difference in the architecture of the movements is the VH31A has 2 joules, the VH31B has 0 joules. Other than that, they are identical, same specifications, build quality, materials, finishing and accuracy. This has the VH31B, so it's made from 2023 onwards, and it is well proven. Feels smooth, clockwise and anti-clockwise. Minimal resistance to it because it has 0 joules. It's a very low friction quartz caliber. Feels good. Minimal back play when you rotate the nailed crown. There's an almost immediate response to the pencil minute hand. I like that it has hacking and you can set the time precisely to the second. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and then restarts the second hand and it sweeps around or ticks with a 4 beats per second tick rather than 1 tick every second. So it looks more like the sweep of an NH38 or an NH35A respectively, which have a 3 Hz sweep running at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Looks more like an automatic, and I like it. It's something I like about the VH31, both the 31A and 31B respectively. They have this 4 beats per second tick rather than 1 tick every second, so it sweeps smoother than a tick every second. I like the 4 beats per second, it looks better. Let's test screwing the crown back down. Instant thread pickup, so there's a perfect interface between the internal thread of the stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. Perfect pickup. They really have refined it. It feels very pleasant to use. To unscrew it, feels silky smooth. Screw it back down, feels silky smooth. Perfect pickups. Immediately the threads mesh. They mate very well. So Charlie Paris deserves credit because this is an outstanding screw down crown. I think 300 meters is excessive, but it is very strong for a daily wear piece. 100 or 200 would have been sufficient. Right, so let's look at the dial and handset in detail. Now, this is a very well executed dial. It's a gradient dial, so it graduates from Azur blue at the top, or 12 o'clock position, gradually getting darker down to the 6 o'clock index on the dial. It's very aesthetically pleasing. There's a slight sheen to it, so it's not a glossy enamel Azur blue dial, and it's not matte. It's got a very slight sheen to it, to the gradient dial, and the gradient dial does add interest to it rather than it just being monochrome Azur blue. Adds interest. Quality of the printing to the text on the dial is sharp and crisp and high definition, and I like it. I think they've done a good job. It's balanced very well. We don't have too much information, too many lines of text. It doesn't look too cluttered and busy. It's balanced. Concordia is correctly proportioned, and it balances Charlie Expedition at the 12 o'clock position. Also very nice that they've applied the C emblem at 12 o'clock. It gives it a high quality feel to it. Quality of the printing to the white minute ticks on the chaptering are sharp, they're crisp, they're legible, and I like it. I think the legibility is good on the gradient dial. The hands are also correctly proportioned. The pencil minute hand extends all the way to the applied indices and nearly to the white minute tick, so they look long enough and wide enough. The pencil hour hand is also correctly proportioned. It's large enough. I like the Azur blue tip to the second hand because it extends all the way to the minute ticks on the chapter ring. So legibility is good. One can immediately differentiate between the longer pencil minute hand and the shorter pencil hour hand. So the hands look large enough. They don't look too short and they don't look too slender. They are just the right size and I really like them. The dial layout really is like a Submariner dial layout. The rectangular indices at 9, 6 and 3 give good symmetry and also good legibility, and I like the dot circular indices for the other hour indices. It's legible, the clarity is good, and with the absence of a date complication the symmetry is good. It looks balanced, it looks clean, it's a very well printed dial. The quality of the gradient printing of the Azur blue is excellent. So I'll give you wrist shots and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now I haven't sized the bracelet and I'm pleased to report that Charlie Paris include enough links for this to fit up to a very large wrist size. I can easily slide an index finger beneath the bracelet and flip lock clasp, and that indicates this would fit up to a very large wrist size of 9 inches. Bear in mind this is on maximum position 4 out of 4 on the flanks, micro adjustments as you can see. So 9 inches is the absolute maximum, plenty of micro adjustments. There are enough removable links on the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side to size this down to a minimum 6-inch wrist size, and the maximum is 9. And you can see on my 8-inch wrist, with it on position 4, the maximum of 4, it will easily fit up to a 9-inch wrist. So plenty of removable links. Perfection personified taper and correct decision with female pivoted end links. You can see the benefit. The end link in the Oyster style bracelet is able to articulate very snug to the wrist. Had they used male end links, that would have been a mistake because one would have a gap beneath the tips of the lugs and the end link in the bracelet. But this female pivoted end link pulls the end link of the Oyster style bracelet snug to the wrist. It's correct. Perfection personified taper. It just looks fantastic on a 38mm. You can see. Visually, it's very aesthetically pleasing, doesn't have too much meat on it, even though the links are very thick. The taper is correct for a 38, 20 to 16. The only disappointment or the negative is this flip lock clasp is too light gauge. It needs a solid milled body to it to add some meat to it. Also, they could reduce the meat of the links at the female pivoted end link end of the bracelet. But on a positive note, above all else, what I really like about it is how slender and low profile this piece is. It's got a compact 45.5 lug to lug, so you'll know from my previous reviews, the sweet spot or the perfect lug to lug is 48, because 48mm lug to lug fits all wrist sizes regardless of whether you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist or a 7 to 8 inch wrist respectively. At 45.5 it's very compact, it's well below the 48 perfect sweet spot, but I'm not going to be critical of it because clearly at 38mm diameter, this is intended for collectors with a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist versus a larger 7 to 8 inch wrist. So, if you have a 6 to 7 inch wrist, this will fit you very well because the compact lug to lug measurement is good. Nice curved undercut, and the benefit of the flat profile to the case back is that it is very low profile. This piece is only 11.2, and that is the benefit of this being powered by the Seiko VH31B quartz versus using a Seiko NH38, which is automatic. It would be 13mm had they used the NH38. This is correct. It slims it down to only 11.2, even with a single domed sapphire crystal, which adds 2mm of thickness to the head of the piece. The Azur blue dial with a gradient finish is excellent. Legibility is good, clarity is good despite it being single domed and having magnification and distortion effect when you tilt it at an oblique angle. The AR coating does work well. The Azur blue dial is good looking. The handset is clearly legible. I like that the silver mirror polished handset, they have blue tips to them, which improves the legibility against the Azur blue gradient dial. So indices are correctly proportioned, handsets are correctly proportioned. I like the way the single dome sapphire crystal has a bevel around the edge which projects above the flat bezel. It does look very aesthetically pleasing. Now, the thing I like about it is it's 139 grams. So anything below 150 grams is the sweet spot for comfort to wear a piece for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So at 139, it's clearly well below the 150 sweet spot for 38mm. Feels comfortable, and that is with a very long bracelet to fit up to a 9-inch wrist. Even with my 8-inch wrist, I would remove 2 links from the bracelet. That would reduce it to below 130 grams. If you have a 6 to 7-inch wrist, you're going to be removing 4 to 6 links. That will reduce it down to 120 to 125 grams. So, comfortable to wear, feel good factor is good, comfort level is good, aesthetically pleasing, taper is excellent, and it's a very comfortable piece because the case back feels very smooth against the wrist, and I like its flat profiled. We don't have a large gap beneath the tips of the lugs, and the bracelet articulates well with the female pulled end links. So good looking piece, aesthetically pleasing, feels balanced despite having the lack of meat or the lack of heft to the pressed gauge, the light gauge of flip lock clasp. They really need to just upgrade the clasp and simply reduce the meat on the links, because as you can see they are very thick at the head of the piece and then they taper down in thickness. They really should be this thickness, the flip lock end. You can see how thin the links are here, far better, far less meat, but at the spring bar end or the head of the piece end you can see there's far too much thickness. They need to reduce the bracelet thickness. It adds too much heft and it's unnecessary. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. Now, you could be mistaken for thinking this is BGW9 Superluminova because it glows blue, but it's not. It's actually BL Superluminova. So BL denotes blue light, and that's what the BL stands for. And it does look similar. The blue tone of BL Superluminova looks very similar to BGW9. Doesn't really look darker. The potency of the exciter is equal to 5 to 6 layers of BGW9. Subjectively, one could say it's a slightly darker blue than BGW9, but the benefit is it's got a perfect colour tone match in daylight. So, in daylight, the applied indices have a white tone to the BL Superluminova, and the hands also have a white tone. They don't look more cream or white on the indices or the hands, they are perfectly matched, which is good. In the dark, you can see there's also a good blue tone match between the indices and the handset. They don't look lighter or darker, so I'm just going to charge it up again to get the camera to autofocus on it better, because I want to see the potency of the exciter of the BL and see how long it lasts. So as you can see, now we're focused, and I think it's a perfect colour tone match. This indicates that we've got an even 5 to 6 on the indices and an even 5 to 6 layers on the handset. I'm pleased to see this because often low-tier microbrands use the production cost-cutting measure of only applying 3 to 4 layers on the dial and then 5 to 6 layers on the handset in order to reduce production cost per piece and therefore maximise profit margin per piece. Charlie Paris deserve credit here because they've got a full 5 to 6 layers of BL on the dial and also on the handset. They haven't used the cost-cutting measure, so it's good. This is clearly 5 to 6. The potency of the exciter is there. It's glowing for a good length of time, it's glowing brightly, and there's a good colour tone match, not a mismatch. So I like it. I like the proportion of the hands, I like the proportion of the indices. For a daily wear piece, not a dive piece, this is good performance, and they deserve credit for that. Right, so let's discuss the movement used because it's my favourite aspect of the piece. So this is powered by the Seiko VH31B, and as I've detailed, the VH31B is the successor to the VH31A. So to remind you, the VH31A was produced by Seiko from 2019, and then they succeeded it with the VH31B respectively from 2023 onwards. Architecture of both movements is identical with the exception of the number of jewels. The VH31A has 2 jewels, the VH31B, its successor, has 0 jewels, but other than that, same build quality, same material, same finishing, same accuracy, no difference between them. They both have 4 beats per second and also hacking. 2-year battery life is good. The stated accuracy of the VH31B used in this piece is plus or minus 15 seconds per month. So just think about that for a moment. That's not plus or minus 15 seconds per day or per week. Plus or minus 15 seconds per month is excellent accuracy. Better than plus or minus 1 second per day. I can confirm this one is running at 0 seconds per day accuracy, so it's well within the stated plus or minus 15 per month. Excellent choice. And to remind you, the benefit of this is it's slim. The VH31B quartz is a slim quartz movement. So, even though this is 300 meters with a 2mm thick single dome sapphire crystal and a thick 300 meter water resistant stainless steel case back, they've been able to reduce the thickness of this piece down to only 11.2. Had they used the NH38, it would have been 13mm with this 2mm thick crystal and thick case back. in order to provide 300 meters of hermetic seal. So this is the benefit. It's not a thick slab of 316L grade stainless steel. It's not 13 millimeters. It doesn't feel top heavy, even though it does have a very heavy bracelet on the head of the piece. 11.2 is comfortable, and that's the benefit of using the VH31B versus using the NH38, which is automatic with a rotor. Correct choice at this price point. It's accurate, it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse quartz made in Japan, and the original version, the VH31A, is well proven from 2019 to 2025, and I regard the VH31B used in this piece as equal reliability. It's been in service since 2023, so it's had 2 years of service, and like the VH31A, its predecessor, no reliability issues reported. I like the 4 beats per second smoother sweep or tick of the second hand. I like the accuracy, plus or minus 15 seconds. I like the reliability of it, the durability. 2 years battery life is acceptable. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch for my channel, the watch meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So low tier piece, price point is €354 respectively. I'm going to declare it OK quality, and I'm going to declare it OK value. I can't say it's excellent quality and I can't say it's excellent value at €354 because there are some areas that need to be addressed, and I'd like to see a V2 version refining it. So for example, sloppy end-link fits. This is unacceptable. I can't say excellent quality and excellent value. I can't say good quality and good value when we have a sloppy bracelet with sloppy end links. Also, the light gauge of the pressed body to this flip-lock clasp downgrades it from good down to OK. It is acceptable. It works OK, and we've got 4 micro adjustment holes, but it's disappointing. It's a production cost-cutting measure. Below €100, one could be magnanimous. €354 in 2025, no. Microbrands need to be using solid milled bodies to their flip-lock clasp. That is now the industry standard. Even if it doesn't have a ratcheting mechanism or a glide lock style mechanism, the body needs to be solid milled. It needs to be a heavy gauge. Very simple for Charlie Paris to correct. That would upgrade this to good quality and good value, or excellent quality and excellent value if they tightened up the bracelet. Other than that, it's an excellent piece, but I think it would be better if they used a double dome sapphire crystal versus single dome. That would delete this distortion and magnification effect when you tilt it at an oblique angle. I think a double dome sapphire crystal would be beneficial. But the Lume is good, the VH31B quartz is good, silky smooth screw down crown, comfortable piece to wear, and I like it. So I think it's a nice daily wear piece at 38mm with a compact 45.5 lug to lug. It does feel good on wrist. It doesn't feel top heavy because it is only 11.2. So a good daily wear piece. I think they have overrated the water resistant at 300 meters. 100 or 200 would suffice. They could even slim it down by a millimeter on the case back, as I've detailed, by reducing it to 200 meters. They could reduce 1 millimeter of meat off the case back and make this 10.2, which would further enhance it. It really doesn't need 300 meters and a screw down crown for a daily wear piece, but there we are. So I'm going to recommend it to you for consideration. OK quality and OK value. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Charlie Paris Concordia Azur. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you for watching.